We begin with this report that the crisis in the All Progressives Congress APC has deepened following a letter by Governor Maimala Buni, which faulted Governor Nasir El-Rufai's narrative on his purported removal as the chairman of the caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, CECPC. The letter dismissed El-Rufai's claim that Buni was sacked as the party's chairman. Buni's campaign claimed that the embattled APC caretaker committee legally handed over the affairs of the party to Governor Abubakar Sani Bello before travelling out. The letter dated February the 28th, copied by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) and all members of CECPC. Buni directed Governor Bello to act in his absence as the chairman of CECPC because he would be away for a medical trip to Dubai.
Crisis the best way possible. If you look at what they're doing currently, rather than allowing Buni to scuttle the next election and the next convention, they decided to move, get him out of the place and put in somebody, Governor Bello, with a mandate to organize the convention. Otherwise, there'd be a crisis if they shift it again on March 26th, and that is not what they want. Yes, the president will certainly have a view on who should be particularly the chairman of the party. But we should not forget what they've done in APC currently. What they simply try to do now is to resolve all the problems up front. What they've done, what we call lateral zoning. The lateral zoning is about, dividing the country into two constituencies, that is the north and the south. And all the office constituencies to now zone those posts to different areas. So they are trying to resolve it in a representative way and in a way that would lead to less conflict. That is what they're doing, with lateral zoning currently. So given that, Mr. President will certainly have an interest in who succeeds Governor Bello, as the chairman of the party. But I doubt whether he will show with so much influence in relation to other offices within the party. I think those ones will be left, for other party shifting, to have some input.
The People's Democratic Party, PDP, has summoned the 95th session of its National Executive Committee NEC meeting to hold next week, Tuesday. The party served notice of the meeting, inviting all members of the council to attend the session scheduled to take place at its Wadata Plaza in Abuja. At the end of the 94th NEC meeting in October last year, the party had resolved to defer the consideration of Governor Bala Mohammed Committee's report dwelling on the zoning of the presidential ticket of the PDP. And now to the court. The Federal High Court in Abuja has fixed April the 8th for the adoption of final written addresses in a suit filed by the People's Democratic Party, PDP, against Governor Bello Matawalle of Zamfara and others. Justice Inyang Ekwo fixed the date after parties in the suit confirmed joining issues with one another. The PDP is praying the court for an order removing Matawalle as the governor over his defection from the party to All Progressives Congress APC. An advocate of Nigeria confirmed that all his processes had been filed and served on all defendants. Now, days after the sack of Governor of Ebonyi State by Justice Inyang Ekwo of the Federal High Court in Abuja, representative of the People's Democratic Party, Iduma Igariwe, has called on the sacked governor and his deputy to vacate office and stop parading themselves as governor and deputy governor. Igariwe mentioned that their continued stay in office despite the court judgment was wrong. He called on the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to issue himself and his deputy, who were nominated by the People's Democratic Party to succeed David Umahi and his deputy, certificates of return to enable them assume office as governor and deputy governor.
We have already taken their names to the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee to take a look at such a conduct, because it is professionally not proper. And then the judge who sat in that judgment is already going to answer before the National Judicial Council for misconduct also. So it's a situation where Ebonyi State government, led by Mr. Umahi, in anticipation of this judgment, went behind. I'm talking of, you can imagine in Nigeria where you file a case, within 1 month that case is already gone through the process and judgment delivered. It doesn't happen now. So that was what happened in Abakaliki. They didn't just do that in that case. We have other cases we have filed against Umahi and the Ebonyi State government. They have also come to clone those same cases here in Abuja, to still go and file them. There is one they filed at Ohubu High Court. There's another one they filed at Afikpo High Court. These are all in anticipation of judgment of cases that are lying legitimately bona fide before courts here in Abuja.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has asked a federal high court sitting in Abuja to transfer the fresh trial of a former governor of Abia State, Orji Uzo Kalu, and 2 others in an alleged 7.1 billion naira fraud to its Lagos division. Counsel to the EFCC, Olaleke Atolagbe, said the application was predicated on 5 grounds, among which are that the Abuja division of the Federal High Court lacked the requisite territorial jurisdiction to entertain and try the defendants in the instant charge. The motion further indicated that after taking their plea, the defendants brought an application challenging the competence of the charge, contending that there was no prima facie case against them. The House of Representatives has frowned at the unending terrorist attacks and gruesome killing by armed herdsmen. Nzamdu called for an urgent need to stop the renewed terrorist attacks in Benue communities, urged the Nigerian Army, police and other security agencies to ensure the enforcement of the proscription order as published in the official Gazette 108.
Concerned that the suspicion and collusion of the connivance of the Nigerian Army and other security agencies in the attack, as an Army unit is said to be stationed at Teyode, a settlement of less than 5 kilometers from Ahense, where the invading herdsmen and bandits operated for more than 2 hours without any intervention from any security agency. Cognizant that the notice of proscription order.
Local volunteers were killed. The issue was raised by Tanko Sununu under matters of urgent public importance. The report.
The lawmakers said the attacks in some parts of Kebbi State have led to humanitarian crisis and untold hardship in the southern senatorial districts. The House was worried that the current attack has left many families in disarray and economic activities grounded. It therefore urged for deployment of more troops and equipment to eliminate the criminals and also provide relief materials to those affected by the attack.
Level of poverty, as many social services are already affected.
In a related development, a motion was also raised by the minority leader, Ndudi Elumelu, on a 22-year-old girl, Oluwabamse Anyowole, who was recently murdered in cold blood in Lagos State. The lawmaker is worried that many of the incessant attacks are underreported in view of the stigma attached to such incidents and molestation when such reports are made.
Further aware that Oluwabamse was last seen on 26th of February 2022 after boarding a BRT bus number 240257 at about 7 p.m. around Chevron bus stop. The stop that there are allegations that the BRT driver earlier confessed of having carnal knowledge of late Miss Bamishe before killing her and harvesting some of her vital.
Nigerian police and national security and intelligence to fast-track investigation and ensure the killers of Oluwabamse Anyowole are brought to justice.
And away from the House of Representatives, the Rivers State Commander of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, has vowed not to relent in the fight against pipeline vandalism and illegal dealings in petroleum products until the state is rid of such economic sabotage. The state commandant, Abu Tambuwal, was speaking when he addressed officers and men during a muster parade and the unveiling of 3 operational vehicles presented to the command by the Commandant-General, Abubakar Audi. The report.
The State Commandant of Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC in Rivers State, Abu Tambuwal, expressed delight at the various welfare programs of the Commandant-General, Ahmed Audi, who has turned around the fortunes of the Corps within 1 year in office.
We are indeed happy. The morale booster given to the Rivers State Command, I call on the officers and men generally in the command to belt up. There's a common saying, to whom much is given, much is expected. With this development, we'll be on ground, and the vandals, bunkerers, will be on their feet, and we will pursue them up.
The commander of Zone L, James Bassi, stressed that the fight against pipeline vandalism and oil theft is non-negotiable, as the Corps is determined to continue waging war against illegal dealings in petroleum products.
This is as a result of your dexterity as a command, the work you have put in to ensure that the core mandate of the service is carried through to the letter. This is just to show.
Reaffirmed his commitment to ensure that the mandate of the Corps is pursued with resilience and dedication towards safeguarding critical national assets.
Products. This is a great achievement, and it brings us together.
All kinds of bandits. So they want
to an end.
Some of them are involved in stealing, especially in Okitipupa local government and in larger local government of Ondo State. But according to our source, who actually visited where they were camped, we learned that well over 100 Nigerians are inside those buildings.
The Lagos State Commissioner of Police, Abiodun Alabi, has directed all area commanders and divisional police officers to beef up security and maintain visibility in their area of coverage. This is coming on the heels of the indefinite suspension of the Lagos State Chapter Chairman of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, NURTW, Musiliu Akinsoya, popularly known as MC Oluomo, over alleged misconduct, insubordination and incitement of members of the state chapter against the apex body. The state police boss said a directive had been given on the deployment and patrol of all motor parks across the state while assuring Lagosians of adequate security of life and property. Also, the state government has hinted that it has commenced the publication of details of sex offenders in the state. The Executive Secretary of the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, DSVA, Titilola Vivo Adeniyi, said the details included the name and picture of the sex offender, the nature of the offense, as well as the duration of the sentence handed down by the court. Adeniyi noted that the move was in line with the provisions of the Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency law, particularly Section 42, which provides that the agency is to periodically publish details of sex convicts in the state. And following the directive by President Muhammadu Buhari, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has distributed food items to over 650 internally displaced persons' IDs of the items. Laden said the food supply was part of the monthly support from NEMA to assist the affected displaced persons.
Approval has been given by the President and the DG. I represent the DG came to flag off the distribution of food items. We know that it is not their wish to be here. They are here by circumstances. But then we should also know that this food, because apart from this food, I don't think there's any other agency that is still giving them this opportunity. So federal government is goodwill. I would appreciate if what is given to them, they are able to use it. They should use it to take care of themselves, take care of the children.
Over 500 million naira have been paid as compensation to residents and families whose properties were affected in the construction of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu Igbogbo Road in Ikorodu local government area of Lagos State. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu handed over the checks worth 5 million naira to 20 beneficiaries while on a working visit to the area. Our correspondent Lobby Kokoyedokun reports that another batch of 72 beneficiaries will be handed their checks on Friday.
A huge crowd waiting to welcome Governor Sanwo-Olu and his entourage to the venue. Soon, the atmosphere became electrified as the governor arrives. Sanwo-Olu used the working visit to interact with the people and further reaffirmed his commitment towards making more of government presence felt in the area. Also used the opportunity to commission the Ikorodu Youth Center with the hope that this will reduce social vices and take the youth off the streets.
Everything we're about is about ensuring how you can access some of these funds that government has made available.
This is on the security architecture of Ikorodu Division to boost the governor's effort at attaining a crime-free state. From Lagos, Live Ikuku Uyedokun, Plus TV News.
Tech Women Nigeria Alumni Group has issued certificates to 10 young women in technology. Jacinta Obioku reports.
In the spirit of International Women's Day, these young people are being celebrated having gone through a 6-week training in the field of technology. The U.S. government says such program will advance equality across sub-Saharan Africa, promote opportunities for women, and efforts to prevent and respond to gender-based violence.
This is exactly what we want to see. We make an investment because we believe in our partnership with Nigeria. You know, tech is this is not an easy industry. We know you have the brains, we know you have the motivation, and now what you need is the tenacity.
It is an opportunity for us today to say and stand strong, to say that these young adults that are coming up, we are ready to help.
The event also captured the presentation of certificates to the 10 mentees.
This has been a worthwhile experience, a very good one. I'm happy we did this. This is the first edition, and we look forward to scaling this to bring in more.
When we just use that word technology, it becomes very vast. It becomes like something that is very difficult. But believe me honestly, technology starts from the little that you do, even with your phone. How well do you know your phone?
This is Nigerian women in tech giving back to young women, future leaders in tech. And we couldn't be more proud of all of them, and we're so proud to be able to support them.
The mentees expressed their excitement to be enrolled and positioned to change the narrative in the male-dominated industry.
It was amazing, and they made us understand that being tech now.
Tech is something that I can do, and every girl and every woman that looks forward to having a career in technology can actually come in and also break the barriers on that path.
I've learned so many things that I know that on this my career path, there's no way I'm going to falter because of the foundation that Tech Women has built for me.
The mentees will further use their contacts, network and knowledge to advance in their professions. Jacinta Obiuku, Plus TV News.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting. Get online or in
18 to 25 who is currently unemployed of instructor-led
general hospital, they will show you, abuse you, doing this and everything. Maybe government should help us to do the healthcare. I will like it. Everybody will like it.
Basically, well, I think they are trying for now, but I think there are lots of work to be done. Like we still have dilapidated hospitals that are not really working efficiently, and but basically for now, it's still on maybe 50% of 100. In a scale of 100, maybe 50% thereabout.
Relatively, if you look at the healthcare system in Nigeria, I think to me, I would, if I'm rating it, I'll probably rate it 70% in terms of percentage. And that's because there are some infrastructures we have in other well-developed countries that we don't have in Nigeria. And that's one of the things I feel government...
The staff they have, the Nigerian public...
Still ahead, President Putin says sanctions on Russia will lead to high global energy prices. Details when we return.
Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Welcome to your favorite program, The Moment of Truth, brought to you by the Citadel Global Community Church. Our God is a God of salvation, far above all principality and power, and might and dominion, that regardless of what happens in this season, you will escape. Say to your neighbor, there is no peace for the wicked. The lazy man does not roast what he took in hunting, but diligence is a man's precious possession. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Moment of Truth with Pastor Tunde Bakare. Sundays, 7 p.m. on PlusTvAfrica.
The Tambo International Airport from Poland after fleeing the conflict in Ukraine. A total of 25 students were stranded in the neighboring countries of Hungary, Poland, and Romania, unable to afford emergency flights back home following Russia's invasion. The South African government, together with the pharmaceutical firm Aspen, funded the students' return, many of whom have limited resources and were forced to flee into neighboring countries in the wake of the raging armed conflict. Take care of immigrants and provide them with appropriate conditions. A statement from the Prime Minister's office reveals that there are irregular migration, says irregular male immigrants from Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia will be accommodated in the center. The Malian government has announced the opening of an investigation into the murder of several Mauritanian nationals on its territory, but assured that for the moment there was nothing to accuse Malian soldiers of. Mauritania raised its voice against its neighbor, accusing its army of recurrent criminal acts on its soil against its citizens, following the disappearance of a number of them in the border area. Malian Quality Dawood Ipsa, who has been under house arrest since May 2021. The board, led by Bertukan Medeksa, any legal ground. It has also deployed an investigative team to Benishangul Gumuz, South Ethiopia, Southwest Ethiopia, Sidama, Oromia, and Addis Ababa to look into politicians that were reportedly arrested. Outside Africa, Russia has hit back at Western sanctions for invading Ukraine by imposing export bans on a string of products until the end of 2022. The ban, which includes more than 200 products, covers exports of telecoms, medical, vehicle, agricultural, and electrical equipment, as well as some forestry products such as timber. The Economy Ministry said further measures could include restricting foreign ships from Russian ports, and that the measures would last until the end of the year. Meanwhile, President Vladimir Putin says Russia is adhering to its obligation on energy supplies. He told a government meeting after the United States banned Russian oil imports, the latest step in a raft of international sanctions imposed against Moscow. Putin also said that further attempts to sanction Russia would lead to high global energy prices. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, during a visit to the Polish capital, Warsaw, says there should be an investigation into Russia's military operation to disarm its neighbor and remove leaders it casts as dangerous. Poland's President Andrzej Duda had said Russian bombardments of hospitals and housing estates and the resulting loss of civilian lives was barbaric and resembled genocide.
What we've concluded is that there is enough connection, enough of a link between the Putin regime and the individuals.
And we should all be watching. And I have no question the eyes of the world are on this war and what Russia has done in terms of this aggression and these atrocities. I have no doubt. We have been witnessing for weeks, and certainly just in the last 24 hours, atrocities of unimaginable proportion. A maternity hospital because they required care because of an act of violence, unprovoked, unjustified.
Up next, Nigerian Labour Congress warns of impending fresh strike in maritime sector. That's in business news after this short break.
Welcome to Business Reports. I am Justin Akadonye. The Lagos State Internal Revenue Service (LIRS) has urged all individual taxpayers, including self-employed persons and employees under the Pay-As-You-Earn scheme, to file their annual tax returns on or before 31st of March this year. Now, this was contained in a statement signed by Head Corporate Communications of the LIRS, Monsurat Amasa. The agency reaffirmed that to comply with the directive to avoid penalties and other statutory sanctions. The executive chairman noted that filing tax returns in the state should be done only through the link provided by the service. According to the statement, it is mandatory for all taxable persons in the state to register on the e-tax portal, which is built purposely for the convenience of taxpayers. To ease compliance obligations for taxpayers, tax officers have been designated at various tax stations to assist individuals to carry out online registration and filing of tax returns on the e-tax portal. Now, taxpayers seeking more information are enjoined to visit the website of the LIRS. Now, the operators of Bus Rapid Transit BRT Primero Transport Services PTS have lost about 18 million when it suspended its operations across Lagos due to alleged fear of attack by commuters over the death of Ms. Bamishi Ayonwole. This was disclosed by its PTS on Tuesday. Now, the Nigerian Labour Congress has written to the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, informing him of an impending industrial action in the maritime industry over the continued refusal of the international oil companies to engage Nigerian dock workers through registered stevedoring companies as required by law. This was disclosed in a letter titled Notice to Embark on Strike Action Against the International Oil Companies. In the letter, the president of the NLC, Ayuba Waba, said one of its affiliates, the Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria, had been engaging with the IOCs over their continued refusal to comply with Marine Notice 106. According to the NLC, the IOCs are agreement reached at a stakeholders meeting 2 weeks ago, directing IOCs to implement the Marine Notice 106 and allow stevedoring companies access their platforms. Also in business reports, the Nigerian Labour Congress has written to the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, informing him of an impending date. The Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria had been engaging with the IOCs over their continued refusal to comply with the agreement reached at a stakeholders meeting 2 weeks ago, directing the IOCs to implement the Marine Notice 106 and allow stevedoring companies access their platforms. And finally, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, says the oil and gas industry must leverage the world's most cutting-edge technologies and advanced innovations to promote a lower carbon future. Now, this, according to the body, is necessary in terms of reducing emissions. Now, Dr. Mohammed Bakin, the OPEC Secretary General, made this known on Thursday at the ongoing Syria Week 2022 agenda in Houston, Texas, with the theme, Pace of Change, Energy, Climate and Innovation. The of science and innovation would also be vital, such as a circular carbon economy with its 4 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle and remove, that could provide a balanced and inclusive solution for dealing with greenhouse gas emissions. And that's Business News. I am Justin Akadonye. Many thanks for watching.
And the very best in entertainment.
The Black Panther star will star and co-produce the upcoming sequel of the film alongside Oscar nominee Will Smith, who is set to reprise his role as scientist Robert Neville. Smith revealed that the idea of the sequel was pitched by Jordan. The 2007 post-apocalyptic thriller is based on the 1954 novel of the same title by Richard Matheson. Fast-rising Nigerian singer Tems says she has taken time to know herself because her music is real. In a series of tweets, Tems lectured her fans on self-awareness as she revealed that her music came from the most honest part of her. She charged her fans to discover themselves so they could enjoy life before they leave the world. Harry Song has shared a screenshot of the chat he had with an alleged blackmailer who had threatened to call him out over a sex scandal. In the screenshot shared by the reggae and blues crooner on his Instagram story late Wednesday, the blackmailer threatened to share the singer's tape to bloggers. This came few hours after Harry Song raised the alarm that he was being framed for a sex scandal story by a Runs girl. He also added that the incident happened 6 years ago and he had no idea that the lady recorded him.
And sports news now. Britain's minister in charge of sports, Nadine Dorries, has said sanctioned Chelsea football merchandise. A spokesman for Prime Minister transactions with any British individuals and businesses and cannot enter or stay in Britain.
Look, I'm going to get into the weeds of what will happen in the future in terms of the sale of Chelsea. That will depend on the terms of a licence, which will be issued by the Treasury. But at the moment, he cannot benefit from revenue from the club and he cannot benefit from the sale of the club. Abramovich has links to Putin, who is mounting a barbaric and evil attack against the people of Ukraine. This government, we in this department, stand with the people of Ukraine. And as I've said, I'm afraid sanctions have consequences. Abramovich's actions have consequences too. So look, what Putin is doing is absolutely barbaric and evil, and this government is determined to stand with. And that means imposing sanctions, and that means on people like Roman Abramovich. So our focus here is to note that fans can still, who have existing tickets and existing season ticket holders, can still go to matches. The match will still go ahead on Sunday. They can still go to the away matches. Those working at the club will still be paid and players can still play.
And joining me to look at this issue is Olawale Adekoya, is a sports analyst, and also Emmanuel Tinoye, also a sports analyst. Olawale, I'll come to you first. And I believe you've just heard what Nadine Dorries, the Britain's minister in charge of sports, just said. But again, the British government is set to take over Chelsea Football Club. How does this come to the football world? Is it shocking? Is it an logical ideal?
Good evening.
Good evening, please go on. Olawale. Okay, while we're still trying to get Olawale back, Emmanuel, I believe you're staying to speak with me now.
Yeah.
That's fine. So the British government is ready to, take over Chelsea Football Club from Abramovich. How does this news come to the football world? Is it a logical deal?
All right, that's fine. I hope you have me now. Well, unfortunately, this is a very difficult time for all Chelsea fans. Seriously, for me, I think it's unfair, in the economic aspect of things. But we are in a world where you can't actually, separate politics from sport. Even as earlier today, we heard the news that Chelsea already laying up some staff, and about 1,400 other staff are also in line to get staff. So this really affects Chelsea when it comes to economic aspect of things. And there is breaking news about movies. When you look at things from a different point of view. As a matter of fact, today Chelsea still owes Abramovich a living sum of £1.3 billion. And the very thing about this is that Abramovich actually asked Chelsea not to pay back the debt. And we also know that this same man said the profit made from the sale of the club is going to be victim of the Ukraine war. So, but the issue right now is the British government are not ready to give Abramovich any way to even negotiate with buyers. We have seen buyers coming on, like the Richard family. It's difficult thing for Abramovich to sell
Sanction coming because of the attacks on. That's according to the sanction.
Yes. The thing is right now, the issue is that the British government is trying as much as possible to ensure that Abramovich does not get any profit from this, because they believe he's one of the key sponsors of Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia. As much as possible, they want to ensure that he doesn't get anything from the transaction.
Okay, let's also hear from Olawale. Let's hear from him to sell it, and he's not going to benefit anything from it. How does this come to you?
I don't remember the last time I ever heard anything as silly, as naughty as this. What exactly are we talking about? All the years, all the centuries, what we've been told has always been that football should not be mixed with dirty, murky waters of politics. So what exactly are we talking about here? You can imagine the level of anguish, pain, discrimination, torture that Chelsea fans the world over will be facing. How about the football ready to sell off? And he told the world that the profits, whatever profit, they will still push it around for the victims of the war.
Now, looking at this sanction and looking at the
releases all the comments from the principal actors, I think it's rather shameful not to work because of the domino effect. If you sack Chelsea, you delete them. How do you begin to compute the standing? Games played, game against, and what have you? 20 becoming 19 and stuff. So they said you cannot sign. In what way will this now affect Russia?
So your final words, Olawale.
Are fighting. So my final word is that FIFA should allow sanity to reign, because I tell you, after this, football will never, ever remain the same.
Emmanuel,